All right, so some of you might not be using Bluehost as your hosting provider, and that is totally fine. But you might be wondering, how do I get WordPress installed at whatever hosting provider I chose? So I want to try to walk you through a couple different things here. It'll kind of vary depending on what host you actually ended up picking, but one of these methods should work for you. So first, I would recommend logging into whatever dashboard the hosting provider has and search around here for some kind of WordPress themed section. Most hosting providers have some kind of managed WordPress hosting option. That might be what you bought. Otherwise, there are probably other options to install WordPress and let the host install it for you. So look for some kind of WordPress themed section. There might be a section or a button that says install WordPress. That is definitely where I would recommend starting if you see that. If you can't find that, there are a couple other options. So you're gonna have to install it manually, which sounds scary, but I promise it's really not that hard. I will walk you through every step of it. So in order to install WordPress manually, you're gonna have to come to your hosting dashboard. Somewhere on here, you're gonna find something called cPanel. For Bluehost, cPanel is actually this advanced section. I'm not sure why they call it advanced, but this is cPanel. So cPanel is basically just a dashboard of settings for your hosting service. It lets you upload files, it lets you upload images, different database settings, different email settings. All that kind of back-end stuff is in the cPanel section. So try to find the cPanel section in your hosting provider. Again, like I said, in Bluehost, it's called advanced. So it might be kind of hidden somewhere. Worst case scenario, hop on live chat with your hosting provider and they should be able to help you out. But once you're in cPanel, you're going to see different sections for settings you can do. The one we want to first concentrate on is files. And we're going to go to this file manager here. So if I click on that, it takes us straight into this file manager for cPanel. And these are basically just all of the files that are on your server. So for my domain, beaglebrands.com, these are all the files I have. You're going to want to concentrate on this public_HTML folder. These are where all of the public files are. So right now, when someone goes to beaglebrands.com, they're going to look at whatever file is active here. Obviously, I'm not going to take you through each one of these files. These are default WordPress files. So what I'm going to do is actually install, since I already have WordPress installed on beaglebrands.com, I'm going to go ahead and install it on a subfolder. So I'm going to install it on beaglebrands.com/test. So I'm going to create a new folder here called test in public HTML, create that folder, and there it is. So for you, you're going to want to just install it in this public_HTML folder. So whenever I'm in this test folder, you're going to be in this public HTML folder. So I'm going to go to there, make that folder active. And what I need to do is open a new tab and search for WordPress, because we're going to download WordPress and just move those files over there. So here we are on the WordPress.org website, and this big blue button, download WordPress 5.6. We're going to save that file. And so once that's done downloading, you'll get this zip file of WordPress. You're going to want to keep that all compressed and come back to this install folder. Again, you're going to want public HTML. And you're going to click upload, select the file, and there it is. Give that a second to upload. All right, so once that's done uploading, we're going to go back to that folder, and you'll see it here. All right, so once that's done, we are going to right-click this, click extract, and we're going to extract that to the folder that we want, which is this test folder. So we're going to extract that, and that's done. So we're going to close that, and you'll see the WordPress folder here. So we're done with the zip folder. We're going to delete this one because we don't need it anymore. And then all of these files inside of that WordPress folder, we are going to highlight all of them. So I'm just clicking the top one and then holding shift and clicking the bottom one. That selects all of them. And right click, and we actually need to move those to the main folder. So right now they're in test/WordPress. I just want them in test. For you, it's going to just be public.html. So I'm going to move all those. And now if I go to test, you're going to see them all in here. we're done with this WordPress folder, so we're just going to delete that so it's not stuck in there. So now if you go to yourdomain.com, you'll see the main WordPress setup screen. So that's perfect. That's just what we want. But before we continue, you are going to want to set up your database. So it's very easy. So we're going to come back to cPanel. We're done with the file manager. We'll close that. We'll go back to the main cPanel dashboard. All right, so now we need to create our database. So we are going to come under databases and click on MySQL databases. So we need to create a new database. It will already give us the beginning of what we want to call it. So we just can call it whatever we want. I'm just going to call it test. We're going to create that database. It says added, so we'll go back. And then what we need to do is create a user that can go into and access that database. So if we scroll all the way down to MySQL users, so we're going to want to add a new user. So let's create a new user here. You can name them whatever you want. I'll name it test just to keep it easy. And we'll create a password. You are going to want to save this information somewhere. Just keep it handy for the next step. And we are going to create that user. And we'll go back. That created the user successfully. So under current databases, you'll see the database that you created. For me, it's this _test one. And then if you scroll all the way down, you'll see the user. So here's the test user that I made. Now, one more step for the databases, we're going to want to add the user that we made to the database that we made. This allows that user to make changes to that database. So go ahead and select the user that you created and the database and click add. And we're going to want them to have all privileges. So that just means they can do everything they're going to need to do to manage the WordPress site. So click all privileges and make the changes. All right, so that's successful, and we're going to go back. We are actually done with the databases now, and if we switch back to yourdomain.com, we can actually move forward and install WordPress. So we're going to click English. We're going to say, let's go. All right, so here's where you fill in the information that we just made. If you don't have it handy, you can always jump back to this page. So I'm just going to fill in this info. And just remember, I named my database and username the same, but these are probably different. If you made them different, just make sure you are putting in the correct database name and the correct username. For me, that just happens to be the same. Enter in your password. For database host, just keep it as localhost. Don't worry about that. And table prefix, that's just what WordPress is going to use as their naming prefix for the database, which doesn't really matter. So here we go. All right, so it says it was able to connect to the database, so it's going to go and install WordPress. So there, it just installed. Now we just have to create basic information about the website. So we'll just fill in some random stuff here. Create a user with a password. Make sure you save the username and password because you're going to need to log in right after this step. And we'll just click install. All right, so that is successful. So we're going to go ahead and log in. Go ahead and type in the username password you just made. All right, you should be in then. So that is a brief look into how to install WordPress manually or through whatever hosting provider you chose. So that about does it for this video. I will see you in the next.